there's this point where I was feeling so overwhelmed. Like I couldn't continue. It was just way too much. And I was telling my parents, I was telling my friends, everyone, I was like, I am so done. Like I cannot do anymore. That instant when I let go, I swear the next day, that's when it came into my inbox that I had an interview for my internship that I did this summer. It's just crazy to me how when you actually finally let go, like things come to you. Hi, guys. Welcome back to Her Career, Her Way, a podcast all about inspiring ambitious individuals by giving them the strategies, tools, and honest conversations to help you navigate your chaotic career that comes in your 20s. And as a 20-something-year-old, I definitely understand. So, something that has been coming up for me is control and feeling like because of all this uncertainty that I'm facing in terms of this year and my next few months of me finishing university, I'm definitely getting that. I guess in America, the term is senioritis. Here in the UK, I guess it's final year syndrome. I have no idea. Third year, things like that. But yeah, it's just a lot of uncertainty is coming up for me in terms of my career and what the next steps are. And that can definitely feel overwhelming and scary. A lot of fear is coming in, at least for me. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate if you are also graduating. Congratulations. But also, even if you're not, just with internships as well, maybe you're a senior in high school, that's difficult. Or even if you're not a senior, just figuring out your next steps in circumstances of courses, modules that you're taking. Honestly, anything. Next steps are kind of throughout your whole journey, and they can be daunting and really scary. So, what I wanted to talk about in this episode was how to detach without losing ambition and the skill that ends career anxiety or whatever anxiety and overthinking. Sometimes I feel like your job can feel like your identity, especially in your 20s, as that's probably the most not important aspect of your pie chart, but it's definitely a large part that you're thinking of consistently. And so, like, why are we so attached to work? And it's like one email, one rejection, one thing can derail us emotionally for our day. And I definitely felt like this when I was applying for my internship last year. I just was like applying to so many. I can't even count how many internships I was applying to. It was crazy how many they were. And there's this point where I was feeling so overwhelmed. Like I couldn't continue. It was just way too much. And I was telling my parents, I was telling my friends, everyone, I was like, I am so done. Like I cannot do anymore. I've done as many as I could at this point. Like I'm done applying and I'm just going to let go. And that instant when I let go, I swear the next day, that's when it came into my inbox that I had an interview for my internship that I did this summer. And it's just crazy to me how when you actually finally let go, like things come to you. And I wanted to explore why is that? Like, why is detaching what brings clarity and calmness? So that's what this episode is going to be all about. Like, why detachment doesn't mean not caring. Detachment is regulating your nervous system, releasing false control, and redirecting your energy for growth. So, let's get into this episode all about detachment. I'm going to do this in a 4-step kind of framework or a 4-step model about how to detach in a way. Step number 1 is interrupting the script. And this is where awareness comes in. Awareness before action. I'm reading this book called The Untethered Soul by Mikhail Allen Singer. And it's such a beautiful book. And when I picked it up, I immediately just felt a sense of calm. And what the book really is about, I just want to preface that I haven't finished the book yet, so I'm still learning from it. But what I've taken away so far is that you are the observer of your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. They do not control you. They are temporary. And when you can step back from it and just observe what's going around you and you don't attach your ego or your identity to it or all this emotional turmoil that's going on as well, you're able just to kind of see it from an objective landscape. And I swear that in itself brings a sense of calm and clarity to it. And I feel like overthinking, that is your brain seeking safety through uncertainty. So with all of these things that are coming up for me and maybe for you guys about what are your next steps? What's going to happen? And you're just constantly overthinking it and trying to gain clarity out of it. I feel like that's only building up the anxiety of it. And also, when you're trying to control the outcomes and focusing so much on what you want and what the results are, that is anxiety in disguise as well. Because you can't control everything. And most certainly, you can't control other people and what other people are going to do. And some signs of this attachment is when you are refreshing your inbox to regulate your emotions, when you're constantly trying to see, like, if they're going to respond, if you're going to get an interview, if something's going to happen for you. And then also, if you're replaying conversations over and over in your head. So, for example, you do an interview and you are just constantly thinking, did I say something wrong? Did I ask enough questions? Did I talk about their culture enough? Did I misinterpret their culture? Their body language didn't signal that they were into this conversation that we were going. I thought it was flowing. Was it flowing? Did I misinterpret something else? And there's just so many things just playing into your head. And then also, if you are constantly predicting rejection, if you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to get this, I'm not going to get that, I'm not a good person for this role, I don't have enough skills, so I need to have a backup plan. I need to keep on going on LinkedIn and refreshing to see if I can get another job. As you can see, I've had a lot of this dialogue in my head. So most of these are my own thoughts that I've had. And I just want to, I'm telling you this because it's just relatable. Like, people have these thoughts. I have these thoughts all the time. And if you do too, you're not alone in this. Like, when I bring these things into these episodes, is not to say that I don't suffer with this or that I have achieved the utmost clarity and that I am past all of this. No, I am still so much in this as well. Like, I am still dealing with so much uncertainty. I overthink all the time. Like, this is not new to me, and it's still something that I'm working through. Like, I am nowhere near being beyond all of this. And honestly, I don't think I will be. And that's not the point of these frameworks or skills, is to show the human in all of us. And that by continually being aware and reflective of this process, that's how we can continue to grow and adapt. So I just wanted to say that too. And before I go into the second step, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the brain, which is attached to this overthinking and obsessive thoughts. We have two brains that are working in conjunction, and that is the emotional brain, which is the limbic system, and it holds the amygdala, which is your freeze, flight, fawn responses, all of those things. And it's reactive. It's so loud. It's obsessed. And when you are attached, when you have those attachment signs, it kind of grabs the steering wheel in a sense and is trying to control you. But the other side of the brain, which is the Einstein brain or whatever, the logical brain, the prefrontal cortex, that's the long term. And that bases your thoughts on patterns, strategic, and it's evidence based. And when you're able to detach, that gives the wheel back to the logical brain, the part that can actually drive decisions. And so when I bring up these two sides of the brain, I'm not saying that you should ignore the emotional brain. I think it's actually important, and I'll bring it back to a study later on. But it's about controlling what you can and surrendering to the outcome. And also, if you're in a state of anxiety and you feel like your survival mode has just switched on, like the emotional side, and you're either freezing, fawning, whatever it is, then you're not in a place that you can actually make rational decisions. And that's when you need to step back and just be the observer of these thoughts instead of attaching something towards it. Because you can't control what other people do, you can only control what you can do. And when you are so attached to the future and trying to control, then you can't even open yourself up to the other opportunities that are there for you. And so, what detachment does is it brings the calm through awareness, and that calm can then build clarity. And step two is stop chasing and why obsessing backfires. When you try to control everything, it actually isn't intentional. You think it might be productive, but it's not, because you're trying to do every single thing, even those things that are misaligned. And so when you're chasing, this also drains a lot of energy, and we have a finite amount of that. Where your energy goes is so important. And it's so important that what you're doing and what you're working towards is something that is aligned with what you want. Because if you're continually just using up your energy on things that you don't even want, maybe what your peers are doing, maybe what your family has been telling you to do, but that really doesn't connect to what you want to do, then you're actually utilizing your energy in an inefficient mechanism. And so this can be seen in over applying to jobs, like I mentioned in my internship or on LinkedIn, or if you're trying to constantly over explain for things that you want to do, or when you're staying in something that feels misaligned just because it's safe, just because you feel a sense of safety and security. And while I'm saying this, I do want to mention that I understand that sometimes when you have to do things that maybe you don't want to do because of financial security or for some other reason, and that is totally valid. And I'm not saying to give up your job, absolutely not. And I've talked about this in a financial episode, I believe it was episode 10 with a guest, and how you do need a roadmap for that, especially if you're thinking about leaving your job. It's not something that should be rash. And more than not, with CEOs and startups and all of these kind of unicorn companies, we always see the success, but we never see the failure. And a lot of times, entrepreneurs have failed multiple times before they have been successful. And so definitely don't make any rash decisions. That is not what I'm trying to say. But what I'm talking about, if you are in a position that you can do something about it, but you're staying because you're scared to go forward, that might be an example of staying in a situation for safety. Because the unknown is scary and fear is definitely a huge thing holding you back sometimes. What I like to say is that fear is the instigator for change. Something that you can think about instead of chasing is, what is actually in my control? What can I do? For example, if you are in my situation, what I can do is I can be present. And that is one of my words for 2026, is to remain present and just really experience all that I can. Learn as much as I can from the modules that I'm taking. Experience London and Europe with the months that I have left here, and how I can grow and develop from all of these experiences to then propel me into my new era. And also not worrying so much about a job. It is a job and it is important. And my career is definitely something that I'm looking forward to. I mean, I created a whole podcast about careers in a way. And just also remembering that the different aspects of your pie chart and your life all combine to feed off each other. It's like a Venn diagram. They all have their separate aspects, but they're also all combined and intertwined together. And so making sure that you're looking at what you can control and focusing on that. Control the controllables and let go of the rest. And also, if something feels forced, then it's probably time to reflect about that or let it go. And this is where I want to get into step 3, which is clearing the loop, having that mental detox and emotional processing. And so when you're constantly replaying scenarios, that strengthens the anxiety loop because you can't let it go and you're just obsessing over the past. And when you're obsessing over the past, you really can't go into your future self. And that's what I talk about with acting as if, is that you act as if that's the person that you want to become, because then you start emulating that person. If you're constantly looking at the past version of yourself and replaying those conversations, scenarios, whatever it might be, then you're not moving forward. You're staying stuck. And this is what neuroplasticity is that our brain is plastic. We can rewire it. However, if you are constantly repeating things, you are reinforcing them as well. You also can't wire what you can't fire. So if you aren't constantly replaying these things, then they won't keep coming up. And that's what detachment helps to do, is that it can help build and strengthen that new version of whatever you're creating. And it can also help you build regulation and independence because you're coming from a place of calm. You're the observer, you're stepping back. You're not coming from this emotionally heightened place out of anxiety. You're coming from a place of introspection and awareness. And it was also interesting that Antonio Damasio, who was a neuroscientist, did a study on a group of people. And what the study revealed was that people who lost the ability to feel emotion, they actually didn't turn out to be super logical. They actually had hard times making decisions, even the simple decisions. And so this shows that emotions tell you what matters, and they definitely should not be ignored. I don't recommend repressing emotions at all. I actually think that is very counterproductive, and I have done that in the past, and it is not great. So definitely feel your emotions, and they really do matter. And also, logic is an important part too. So emotions are telling you what matters, and logic decides how. It helps ground those decisions a little bit. So it's so important to include both of those. And that's what I was talking about when I said the two parts of the brains that are working together. What you can do to kind of help clear the loop is to journal. I love journaling, and I definitely want to talk more about it and just the benefits for it. But for now, I will just say that journaling really helps you to release it and not analyze it. It helps you become the observer of your thoughts in a way. And it helps you just get it out on page. And it's like a rant, to be honest. That's what I love about it. It's like a huge rant that you're just telling nobody to. And I feel like that helps because nobody's going to read this. Honestly, you don't even have to read it. I like reading it because it helps me just see how strong my emotions were at the time. And then I look back at it, I'm like, wow, that's so funny. Like, I'm in a totally different headspace. And it just helps you kind of clear that mental energy that you're dealing with and just get it out on paper and release it. It is a sense of just letting go of those thoughts because now on paper and you don't have to keep on holding it in your brain. And then another thing is that I met up with my mentor during the holidays, and it's so easy, especially in your 20s, to, and as I said this in the beginning, to attach your whole life and your identity towards a career. But your career is not your identity. Your job is not the only driving force in your life. You have so many other things that matters. You have social relationships, family, you have hobbies, you have interests, you have just, there's so many different facets of your life. And it's not just your career. It's an important part, but it's not your full thing. I think that was just really poignant, especially in the corporate landscape, because the reality is that there are going to be layoffs and there are going to be times that maybe you don't get things that you want or you get rejected. And that doesn't mean it's a personal failure. It's a business decision, really. And so if you attach all of your identity towards your job, and let's say you get fired or rejected, that is going to take a huge strain on you because you've placed so much of your energy on it. But if you kind of detach from it and you let go, and that's not to say that you're not going to work hard and you're not going to show up consistently and do the best that you can. You are. And also, you have other places in your life that you can show up. So if that happens, you won't feel as connected or tied to it as maybe you would if you attached your whole identity to it. So detachment is really that lens of self-protection, honestly, not disengagement. And energy flows where intention goes. And so really being intentional about how you are utilizing your energy is so important. And then step 4 is redirecting the energy. And this is where the practical tips come in. And I think adaptability is probably one of the most important skills that you can develop because the world is ever changing, the job market is ever changing, and you need to learn how to grow with that. I was reading the Substack article about adaptability and just how important that is. And I can't remember exactly what it said at the moment, but it just put it beautifully. And I'm going to link it below in the show notes because I can't remember what it is, to be honest. But the main thing that I took away from that, if you are adaptable, it means you can work with change. It means that you can grow. And if something happens, that you are going to be okay, that you are strong. You're strong with or without whatever happens. And I just thought that was really cool. And definitely change is a hard one for me. So building that adaptability is so important so that I know that I can get through anything that life throws at me. And so with this, I wanted to talk about cognitive reappraisal. And what that is basically reframing your mindset on a situation to help regulate your nervous system and come from a place of calm and intention. And so, for example, an old version of yourself might say, I hate this job. I hate this activity. I'm wasting my time. And actually, a friend and I were talking about this recently about how sometimes you feel like you're in a position or a job and You feel like that's not where you want to be headed. And you were like, I'm wasting my time doing this. I don't want to build my network here. I don't want to do this thing that I'm doing. This is just such uh, like, what am I doing with my life if I'm not happy right now? However, what cognitive reappraisal does is that it helps reframe the situation into how this experience is actually adding value into your life. And so, what I was kind of telling my friend is that, well, you are in this job. Maybe it's not something that you want to be doing, but it is adding value into your life. This job is building you skills. It is showing you that you can do the hard work. You can do the tedious grunt work and you can get through it, even if you don't enjoy it. And every single job has a little bit of that. Especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you most likely have to wear all the hats starting out. And that includes the things that maybe you don't want to be doing. For example, if you're in a creative mindset, maybe you don't want to deal with the accounting and the budgeting. But at first, because you don't have enough money at the start, you are going to have to do that. You are going to have to be the one emailing everyone as well. You're going to be the one staying on top of all of your kind of assets and things like that. And so by doing a job maybe that you don't like and that is tedious and it is repetitive, it shows you that you will be able to do that in the next career. And so focus on the skills that you are developing in that circumstance. Focus on the adaptability that you can bring. And also with that, just envision what you want. If you are feeling stuck, start by visualizing where you want to go, what you want to do, what you want to achieve. And then once that is in the forefront of your mind, it's going to feed into your subconscious, and then you're going to see it everywhere. And that's where acting as if, and I've also talked about the subconscious mind and how it's taking in so much information, but your conscious mind is only taking in a fraction of that. But if you start feeding that mindset of things that maybe aren't appearing in your reality, if you're envisioning and visualizing, that's going to start coming up. And so reframing the situation, because I feel like every single experience teaches you something, and learning, continuous learning is just something that as humans we're going to do forever. And it's beautiful because then can grow from there. You can take new perspectives, you can learn unexpected things and just see how that filters into your life. Also, I feel like when you lose something, it's opening a space for something else to come in. And you never know what opportunities can come. And if you're so focused on one specific outcome, then you're not letting yourself experience other opportunities that could be even better than what you expected. And so rejection really is something that is honestly a blessing because you could get presented with something even better. And so having gratitude for where you are and the openness to the potential that can happen. And then I've also read the Let Them Theory, which I think is a wonderful, wonderful book by Mel Robbins. And honestly, a really good concept is that just let them choose someone else. Let them misunderstand you. Let them move on. Do whatever they do because you can't control that. And when you let them, it's kind of giving back to yourself in a sense. And that you are regaining your control and your power because you're releasing and surrendering to what you can't do, to what you can't control anymore. And that's okay. And you're accepting that. So that also leads to more energy towards what you can control and what you can do. And that is where the power lies. You also can't expand if you're clinging to an old version of yourself. Another important thing is also sleeping on it. Especially this happens in decisions and things like that. And what happens is there's these neurons that are interconnected and they are like an ensemble and they activate when patterns happen. And so basically when you sleep, the brain sorts these emotions, the pros and cons of whatever, and contextualizes them overnight with past experiences, memories, whatever it is. And what happens is that then the emotional intensity can drop and the logical brain has more space and clarity starts to rise. In the night, it helps you combine all those experiences. That's where the clarity can start shining through. So you're letting go when you're sleeping because you're letting go of that one thing and you're opening yourself up to everything else that you've experienced, and that's where the clarity rises. So definitely sleeping on it helps, and just surrendering to whatever life has to offer you. And so I just want you to take away from this is that clarity comes when you stop fighting the reality. And when you stop chasing the outcomes and instead really enjoying the process, really reframing to value every single experience and being present in what's happening right now, because it will come. If you show up consistently, it will come for you. And it will come in ways that you didn't even expect. And that is really what surrendering and detachment is. It's when you stop replaying the past and stop being stuck in that past version of you and stop overthinking and overanalyzing every situation and every single job or whatever it is. And you just kind of let go and see what the universe has to offer you. See what you can do. And also not having those really rigid expectations about what you should do and what should happen. Just seeing what can happen is already letting go and building that clarity and resilience for yourself. So, if there's one thing that I want you to take away, is that detachment makes you adaptable. As Abraham Hicks said, you want things because you think they'll make you feel good, but you have to feel good on the way there. And again, detached people aren't clinging to the result or the outcome. They're seeing what's available for them and then going from there. And so detachment does not kill ambition. And I know people will want to hear that. And as an ambitious person, I really like to hear that as well. But it really makes you calmer, clearer, and more resilient to what life has to offer and the opportunities. And it makes you harder to break too. It makes you really, really, really strong. And it helps you regain that power and control what you can. And so that is the power of detachment. And I think it is just such a beautiful concept. And I'll definitely do a little bit more research into how to do that as well and share my thinking along my process too. But I hope this resonated with you, and I hope it brought you a little bit more of security and just space to feel like you are not alone in this kind of feeling of what's the next step? How do I get there? And all of those really anxious and tight feelings. And just to remind yourself that good things are coming, opportunities are coming, and really focusing on being present and learning all that you can and not fixating on the one thing you want to happen, because it will. Whatever you want to achieve, it will happen. I promise you it will happen. And just having so much belief in that is the most important thing that you can do, and releasing the rigidity towards it, because you have no idea how that can come into light. And how beautiful is that you are on the journey to find out how. So definitely share this with a friend if they're also feeling kind of anxious about what's in store for them. And if they are clinging a little bit too tight onto what they want, definitely comment below if you have any more questions, or if there's something that you're struggling with, and maybe I can do a little bit more research into it, because that's always really interesting to me. And I'm sure many other people are dealing with the same thing. I probably am as well. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.